responsibility isn't a deep shift because it's a voluntary tactic, a reaction to a certain market at this point. And as the corporation reads the market differently, it can go back. One day you see Bambi, next day you see Godzilla.
Grand Rising, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love to the block. Happy Saturday, isn't it? Saturday, y'all. Forgive me, I stay in the kitchen too much. I don't be knowing all the days running together. Type 1 mom, homeschooling mom. I stay doing something. I just came out the kitchen making some meatloaf. I have no clue what I'm going to cook with it yet, but hopefully I'll make my mind up by the end of this stream. Peace and love to everyone, new subscribers, our day ones who have been here since day one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the last 492 pages of abuse installment I will be doing this week. I will be breaking down some of the document. Speaking of the document, I will be breaking down some of the document audio into some shorts that I find interesting. There's a lot of interesting jewels in the document. If you have not found the document, all you have to do is search AB3121 Shell playlist. As you can see, it'll pop right up. Here is the playlist. It's all broken down into audio. I didn't mean for it to come on. Like I really didn't. Cut that off. So the playlist is here. All you have to do is Google it. Forgive some of the earlier recordings. I had to get the hang of editing and all that stuff so you can actually see my growth. With amongst all of these videos, I want to say it's like 70 of them. But I tried, no, there's 80 videos actually. There's a couple of shorts in here, so it's like 70 something videos. I tried to make them short. Some of them are long because the chapters were just long. Like some of these chapters were super huge. And we actually analyzed, well, I briefly analyzed some of the chapters here. I think we did our last chapter yesterday, which was the wealth gap. I find it totally interesting, totally useful, totally valid. So today I was looking through the executive summary. Well, I didn't do it today, but I kind of found some of the preliminary recommendations for future deliberation a little interesting. So I guess these are steps that California, first of all, I find it interesting that California is the only state out of all the states and localities. And I don't even believe it's all of California, but then again, I think this is the state. There's over 40 states. Can you imagine the documents that would be coming out of all of these states and the recommendations for those documents? Because this is basically what it is. It broke down all of the chapters and recommendations for future deliberation at that. It's not even future change. It's more talking, which clearly everyone is pretty good at doing that. So, you know, you got your enslavement recommendations, racial terror recommendations. Political disenfranchisement was interesting. Of course, they're coming up with these forms of acknowledgement and apologies for these acts of particularly political disenfranchisement. Pass legislation that is in alignment of the objectives stated in AB 2576, something interesting to look up, and establish separate funding for Voter education and outreach. I find that interesting because if you look at the education today, there's no education, outreach, plugins, nothing for something that clearly is supposedly like so important to this. They call it a nation, but this I don't know what you call this. To provide state funding and charge the Secretary of State office with making grants to county registrars and pre-registration with civic education, civics. Isn't that something for programs that increase voter registration? Just the point of having civics back in the classroom, that would be a huge recommendation. Civics, ethics, and morality. Consider legislation to prevent dilution of the black vote through redistricting. So clearly, that's a cause and effect. You dilute the vote by redistricting. So all of these recommendations are just recommendations for more deliberations, which is beyond me. Require legislative policy committees to conduct, forgive me, racial impact analysis of all proposed legislation and require the administration to include a comprehensive racial impact analysis for all budget proposals and proposed regulations. That's interesting. I would assume that's never been done before. Allow individuals with felony convictions to serve on juries and prohibit judges and attorneys from excluding jurors solely for having a criminal record. Interesting. I'm sure there will be layers to this, like you can't be the Unabomber and sit on a juror. I'm sure there'll be levels. Housing segregation, identify and eliminate anti-black housing, discrimination policies, practices. See, there's a lot of identifying and eliminating, but I'm trying to understand, well, aren't we past deliberation? I would assume 492 pages of abuse is deliberation. Oh wait, look, separate and unequal education. Listen to this. Add black students to the existing 3 student groups listed in the supplemental grants provisions formula of the local control funding formula. So is that saying that blacks don't exist in the 3 student group? Like, this is why I like reading stuff. Because sometimes the information is not just spelled out to you for you to easily know what's going on. A lot of times you have to pay attention to what they're not saying. Add black students to the existing 3 student groups, meaning it would be a 4 student group after the fact of deliberation. Interesting. There's a lot of stuff in here. Adopt mandatory curriculum for teacher credentialing that includes cultural responsive pedagogy, anti-bias training, and restorative practices, and develop strategies to proactively recruit African American teachers to teach in K-12 public schools. At the rate of imbalance that sometimes you can wait too long to fix the problem. I'm not being like discouraging here or anything, but like, interesting. Racism in environment and infrastructure. Identify and address the impact of environmental racism, drinking water contamination, heavy truck traffic, oil drilling, pollutants, unequal exposure, planting of trees. Like they're coming out of all angles with this. Okay, support the work of community-based organizations. Reduce the density of food swamps. What is that? High densities. Wait a minute. Did you hear that? Reduce the density of food swamps. An example of a food swamp is high densities of fast food restaurants. So the corporate world calls them food swamps. I never knew that in black neighborhoods. Wow. See, equalized community benefit infrastructure funding among all neighborhoods, bike trails, drinking water pipes, sidewalks. Oh goodness. Philadelphia has a bad. You will fall in a hole there. Pathologizing black families. Compensate families who were denied familial inheritance by way of racist anti statutes, laws, precedents that denied heirs resources they would have received had they been non black. Imagine the calculation on that. So I got my tree. Got my tree ready, okay? Um Address the severely disparate involvement of black families within the child welfare and foster care systems. Like some of these things, the damage is done. Some of our children, like our loved ones, the children are gone. Like it'll be God that'll bring them back in our eyesight again. So I'm like a little scratching my head at some of these things. You can read over them. Some of them may relate a little deeper to you. Some of them jump out at me a little more than others. Ensure that black men and women have access to effective, high quality, trauma informed, cultural competent, intimate partner and or guardian violence treatment and services outside of the criminal legal system. Interesting. Eliminate the collection of child support as a means to reimburse the state for current or past government assistance. Ensure that all payments are provided directly to the custodial parent and the child. I can only imagine what the state is taking. A support for incarcerated parents. That's interesting. Even though, don't get too excited, this is just recommendations to do more talking. Control over creative, cultural, intellectual life. Identify and eliminate all discrimination policies in areas of artistic, cultural, creative, athletic, and intellectual life. Stolen labor and hindered opportunity. Interesting. Eliminate racial bias in employment and advancement. Clean slate policy for both young people and adults to ensure that eligible criminal record expungements are done quickly and equitably. Interesting. Unjust legal system. This is going to be like, it's probably going to take 100 years. Eliminate discriminatory policing, and particularly killings, use of force, and racial profiling of African Americans. I would love to see the deliberations on that. Even though isn't that what 2020 was about? So you had to do this document, and it's like these are recommendations for more deliberating. 492 pages is enough deliberating for me. Like you've laid it out. I'm pretty sure there are so many things that were not even mentioned in this document like how the Homestead Act actually impacted families, where a lot of parents chose the easier route, harder still, the easier route to give away their brown children to pass. What about those families? What happened to those children when they were specifically targeted and put in these positions where their parents could not take care of them? It was literally deadly for you to have a Negro child. Like, what about the impact of those descendants? What about the impact on us? You know. So it's like I hear this deliberating, whatever proposals for more deliberation. But I don't see where any more deliberating is going to do anything. I don't even see where fixing this and giving people whatever is going to fix anything. What I do see being a benefit would be like literally change behavior. Like this so reminds me of a bad relationship. Mind you, I have experience in those. Eliminate and reverse the effects of discrimination within the criminal justice system. How long would something like that take? And what happens when you're dealing with an individual who refuse, like doesn't want to go along with this new way of thinking? Because this is would be a new way of thinking for the United States. I don't know if I have the energy to see them even try to change. I really don't know if I have that. Eliminate the over policing of predominantly misclassified black communities. I hear nothing in here about returning our identity. So all of this deliberating, all of this acknowledging and everything still does not fix the core. This document is about symptoms. Symptoms. When the cause to me is identity theft. Nothing in here in 492 pages says anything about our identity being bred out of us and completely erased with ink. So at some point I'm disappointed with this document. I will say it's very informative. I can get information from anything, even if it's something that doesn't pertain to me. I can still learn from it, even if the lesson is just okay. That information does not apply to me. It's not wealthy. It's not. It has no wealth for me in it. Like I will say that the document is valuable. I was able to find specific reasons why certain things in my particular life and my family, certain things happened or certain conditions, provided an environment for A, B, C, and D. That is very helpful. It helped me give a lot of my family, all of my family, some grace. You know, I knew they went through something. I just didn't know what. And like I said, this is only California and their suggestions. Imagine Georgia or Alabama. Seriously, if that day would even, if that day could even be possible. 1 second. So I can imagine that a lot of people are, no, I can't even imagine it. I can see that a lot of people are, I can't see when you download the document. I wish I did have it where I could make a link for it and I could literally see it would be like my link. You could just see, so I could just see how many people are downloading it. But I do see the playlist has a lot of views. Started out with 0. So anything over 0, honey, is good with me. I even go back and listen to some things myself just out of reference, because like I'm not in California, no, but all of these states kind of work in the same form or fashion in some on some levels. So, like I said, it's a very, very, very informative document, especially if you're doing your genealogy like I'm doing. It helps me understand a lot of the laws that were going on, a lot of the war things that were going on that you don't really hear in school unless you like dig for it in the library, if the books are even available. There's even a section in there about the books being banned. It's just one day at a time. Knowledge is power. Ever since I started this document, actually reading it and comprehending it, I did notice like I just see different, I think different, I carry myself a little different. I'm informing my daughter a lot earlier than I was informed. I'm just learning this stuff. I came from the silent generation, and yeah, they weren't into talking about what happened to them. And after reading this document, I get it. You know, a lot of them blamed themselves. A lot of them drank themselves away from here. Never realizing that, they were not the problem. I've even experienced so much with my own lineage, studying what they went through, understanding my mom, understanding what was going on in Philadelphia, not through this document specifically, but it helps with the perception. Like, it doesn't matter where your family came from. If you were in the United States, you have a history that's entwined, and it's not all pretty. It's not all pretty at all, but it is a beautiful thing to see and hear the little gems about different people that we don't get to hear about and how they fought for their freedom. It's very liberating for me. I enjoyed analyzing it more than I did actually reading it. It was kind of traumatizing. I'm not gonna lie. But that's it. That's it. Tomorrow we're gonna take a break from AB3121, the only installments for a while on this until we revamp it. Hopefully we can get some discussions going. I'm gonna start breaking the audio down in some shorts after I take a day off tomorrow. I'm gonna eat good, have a safe weekend. I'm gonna try my best to be safe. I'm gonna enjoy this beautiful weather. I hope you stay safe. I hope you spread some love. I hope someone spreads some love your way. I appreciate you sharing some time with me. I will be back Thursday for Gratitude and Chill. I believe it's number 7. And I believe that's it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a genealogy and chill or not. If I do, you will have to be subscribed for your notification, because I'm not really sure if I want to mess around with that this month or next month. Well, I've already done one for April. Maybe we'll wait till like May or June. And then we got graduation coming up. So breathe in, breathe out. I'm super excited. June is coming closer and closer. I'm mad excited. I want to thank you for joining me for 492 pages of abuse. Or if you are just tuning in to the last video installment of this, please go back to the beginning. where I briefly analyze images and some key findings in the document AB3121, 5 key components of reparations, cessation, assurance of non-repetition, restitution and repatriation, compensation, satisfaction, and rehabilitation. Peace and love, peace and love. Don't forget I love you.
A safe space where facts can be processed for results. Please like, dislike, subscribe. I do subscribe back, okay? Comment, share. I am grateful for your presence here on the blog.
Social responsibility isn't a deep shift because it's a voluntary tactic, a reaction to a certain market at this point. And as the corporation reads the market differently, it can go back. One day you see Bambi, next day you see Godzilla.